Now, if you decide that you would prefer a template for Scrivener when you're doing your character sketches, your places, or really whatever, even your actual chapter writing, whether it's novel, nonfiction, whatever the case may be, I would recommend you look up some Scrivener templates. You can see that I've already been to these top 3 sites to just kind of skim them. A lot of them are advertiser based, and you're going to get solicited email lists and things like that. And some of these too, you're going to have to probably download the templates, or I think some you may even have to subscribe to. So really it depends on what you want to do. But you really want to find something that works best for you. So we're going to go to the top one here just to take a look at the page and give you an example of what you might expect when you open up a template. So if you decide that you do want to download a template, you'll want to read through the site, and just to make sure you understand the terms and understand what you're looking into. This top one seems decent enough, but I would say really the top searches will lead you to something that you can use. But what I want to do is, since we started this whole video after I explained how I found yWriter, I found it through reading this book on outlining. This page actually references the author who wrote that book and the template she uses for Scrivener. So I think it's useful to end this series on just kind of looking at her own Scrivener template. Okay, so we're going to have to quickly show an example of the templates in action. Right now we're looking at KM Mylan's outline template, which we were looking at in the website there a second ago. Just not going to really investigate this too much, but I want to show you guys a little bit of what I'm talking about. When you download any of these templates, you can actually see that they're already pre-written, so that all you got to do is just fill them in. So for example, when you're looking at this outline template, you can click any of the fields that are already highlighted. For example, the what if premise. There's an actual spot here for you to type in what your what ifs are, and then over here you'll see in the index card that there's a list of things that you can consider when filling that in. So whatever you're trying to accomplish here, whether you're doing what ifs, antagonists, or whatever it is that you really want to accomplish, you have all these fields already filled out. So it's just a matter of picking the one that works best for you. So do you want to do a character interview? Then you can actually go through and read about your character interview. And so the beauty of downloading a template and applying it to Scrivener is that most of these things have already been filled out for you. So, well, they haven't been filled out, but the fields have been filled out. So all you have to do is actually flesh out your characters or flesh out your scenes or whatever it is you want to do based on the prompts they give you. And so that's the thing, is you got to find what works best for you, and then whatever that might be, then just work with it. So that's an example of one of the templates already written and available to you to download. So I would recommend finding one that you want to use in your projects. And the other thing I would recommend too is if you do have a plan that you want to follow, whether you're again outlining world building or I don't know, creating a list of characters who will only show up in one book and never be seen again, or come up with your own database, come up with your own planning. Whatever you end up doing, you can certainly make sure that you're actually working with all of the elements in place. So that's, I think, in my opinion, something really worth considering when you're doing this kind of project. So that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you a little bit more of the websites and things, and we'll pick up there. As you can see, the templates that you have here, they're extensive, but they have purpose. And if you have something that you want to use in order to help your productivity or just help you organize better, I would certainly look for one that really shines. So whether you are looking for structure, looking for things for keeping track of your competencies, if you know anything about Larry Brooks and the StoryFix forums and the Story Engineering Trilogy, which includes StoryFix, you'll learn about that. Which I recommend those books highly if you haven't read them. We're 30 chapter novels. I mean, really, whatever you're working on, there's a template for you. So I would certainly go and check out the various templates. You will need to read the instructions on how to install them. I'm not going to do that in this video. That's complicated, and also I haven't researched it, so I don't want to look like an idiot on camera, which I do often when I don't plan ahead. I'm sure I've done it a few times in this very series. The murder mystery template gives you the front matter versions, which we didn't really talk about in Scrivener, the document, but you can basically fill in each of these pieces accordingly, which you can read for yourself what they are. But you've seen them in every book, I'm sure. So this template certainly makes it easy to fill in those pieces. But what I like about these templates is everything's broken down. Often they'll have the sheets defined for you, so you can just fill in the questions. So when comparing yWriter to Scrivener, really depends on what kind of template you're using. Will depend on how efficient one is over the other. You got to figure with Scrivener, you are paying money for it, whereas yWriter is free. I like yWriter because it's straightforward. It does give you the timeline option. It gives you a number of things. Neither one, by default, gives you structural tips. And that's one thing where I would probably have a quarrel with both. Because part of writing, whether you're doing fiction or nonfiction, it requires structure. It's not just about creating scenes and crossing your fingers and hoping they work. It is really about having a solid plan. And if your plan's not there, it's going to be ugly. And you're going to end up with all the types of stories I used to write when I was in college. Because college doesn't teach you much either when it comes to structure. It teaches you how to be flowery in your language and make interesting characters. But that's about it. Just a little forewarning for those of you who decide to go after a creative writing degree. My advice is don't do it. But if you are going to do it, I would buy a lot of books on the side and do a lot of outside education study, because that's where most of your important stuff's going to come in, is on your own self-study. But that said, whatever you end up doing, I would certainly look for a template that does include structure, which it seems that a few of these do. Oh, got a world building template. There's a lot of good stuff in here. So I would certainly search the top few sites that come up in the queue for the template that really works, and I think that would really up your game if you decide to use Scrivener over yWriter. But I don't know. I mean, overall, you can choose what you like between the two. I think they're both really useful. And Scrivener's free for the first 30 days, so you can always try that out and compare the two. But just ultimately, you want to learn how to use them and learn how to plan. And if you learn how to create characters well, and you learn how to create structure well, then you're off on a good running foot. So before I wrap up this section of video and move on to our bonus section for the end of the series, I want to just show you what I'm working on for one of my templates here. I'm calling this the Story Planning General, and I'm sure I'm going to change it before I finalize it. And I'm also thinking I may add a few more extra pieces to it that go beyond just the simple novel genre, but maybe some nonfiction screenwriting and game design as well. But I want to show you just what I'm working on, and the point of why I'm showing this to you is not to pitch it, but to show you that you can certainly make up your own templates in Scrivener if you want, and you can use it to your advantage in the future. So what this is this is actually a pre-writing template, and if you know me, you'll know I don't really do a lot of pre-writing. I tend to just dive right into the story, but I am trying to fix that. I'm trying to be better about preparing all my stories, but also just to have a bank of ideas, so that, let's say I have an idea that I want to do for Pirate Adventure, which is actually a real story that I have thought about a month ago. If I have a list of ideas that I want to try to come back to at some point, but maybe I just don't have the time or focus right now to do that, I can use this particular template in order to prepare for that possibility. So what I might do is, just to show you what I'm working on here, you'll see I reference KMYLN again. I'm using a reminder of what this is for, and this is also in case anybody should want to ever download the final copy whenever that happens. You'll have some use of understanding how this is supposed to be done, but you'll see that what I have in the template right now, this whole thing is going to be copyable, so that whenever you add a new story, you can just take the whole template and then add accordingly. But you'll see I actually filled in all the fields, or at least I've started to fill them out. There's some things I'm still working on. But for example, like if I want to do the story overview, I have a section that reminds me what each element is for, and then I have a spot where I'll actually fill in the elements. And so if I want to do, say, something on character sheets, right now I have the character overview. The idea here is, because this is in a folder, I'll add new character sheets to it and then just fill out each one as they're important. Now, I wouldn't do that for every single character, but certainly for the major ones, I might do that. And you'll see that I'm listing an entire wealth of ideas that these characters may need, or basically I'm fleshing out real-life character types, so that if you really want to know who your characters are, for example, do they have any human resource records? Do they have enemy henchmen? Whatever. As I'm scrolling by, you can see there's a whole lot of different options here. you can use to fill out a character. But I also have elements for a marketing plan. Now, I actually just recently posted an article about an article I read that the author claimed that marketing is based on luck, which I think in my own personal experience, I can vouch it's probably pretty true. But what I've done here is I still give myself a chance to outline some of my marketing materials, including synopses, front cover, descriptions and things. And I also, for those who may end up downloading the template at some point, I've created links to different articles where I found all the info. So the point I'm making is if you have something you want to do special for your story or even for your writing career, which is what I'm doing here, then you can certainly make sure that you are preparing for that by creating your own templates. And even if you don't want to make an official template, you can just use the actual file as a background and then just copy and paste all of the elements into their own folder, which is part of my plan for this. Then you can do that too. But like everything else, you can also combine this template or whatever template you make with other templates you've downloaded for a full-on career manager, story manager, series manager, whatever you end up doing. So if I were to ultimately say that one is better than the other, I'm going to say Scrivener is infinitely better than yWriter for the very fact that you can do pretty much anything in Scrivener. But the problem is that Scrivener, you have to pay for that. And I actually just recently read, after I recorded the original videos, because this particular insert is about a month later from my original video recordings. So I recorded those in May, and I'm recording this a couple days before I'm scheduling out the series on YouTube at the end of June. But anyway, the announcement I saw is that because Scrivener 3 is coming soon to Windows, the various details that they've added to the program and just the programming and stuff they have to do, it's gotten a lot more complicated than the original inception of Scrivener. So the prices will basically be going up about $4 or $5 across all platforms. So whatever price I may have said in the previous video, if I've said it, and I'm only imagining that I have, because I really don't remember that far back, that's like a whole month ago, it will be a little more expensive. So yWriter, as far as I know, is still free unless you get the mobile version, and even then that's only $5, again, as of when I last checked. But it's still worth it overall because it's still about a sixth of the price of Microsoft Word, even though, as I advocated earlier, you should probably be using all three writing software or writing processes to come up with something that's worthwhile, unless you find a different program you like entirely or you make up your own. But yeah, I think Scrivener, the reason why you're going to pay for it is because you really can do a whole lot more with it, and so I just think that's really the benefit of having it. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. This is something I'm pretty proud of, or will be when I'm done. Again, I'm not finished with it yet. As you can see, I'm still working on, I think I'm on the general outline now. Got a little bit of general outline, but actually no, I think the marketing plan is the one I'm still trying to flesh out, because I have all of these sections I haven't yet filled in, like marketing challenges, and I want to put a chart down here for all the production start dates and budgets and milestones and things. But you do what works for you, and then what I would do is follow the directions online on how to save it to a template, especially if you want to share it with others. So keep that in mind. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the original video, which is pretty much at the end, I believe. So I hope this was useful to you. Thanks. One thing I'll probably do later, probably not too soon, because I want to go on and I would need to do a curated section, but what I will probably do in future videos is I'll probably go over some of the books I like that actually teach you relevant skills for creating fiction or even nonfiction, if there's a demand for that. The books that I've read, the books that I really appreciate. I'll show you some other sites too you might want to consider. My tab, I have a couple open in my tabs. I'll click on one right now. One Stop for Writers, Writers Helping Writers. Just real quick, I'll show you that since the tab is open. There is an annual fee to use this site, to use it thoroughly. I mean, obviously you can browse for free. But the thing I like about the Writers Helping Writers.net is that it gives you access to different thesaurus that help you with developing your characters and developing your scenes and whatnot. So if you do decide to check this out, this is really useful. The people in charge of this site, they do have textbooks available of these sources. We'll look at a couple of these real quick. You want to go to? Yeah. So these books here, you can get them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble. There are currently 6 of them, and then the first one has a new version, which adds, I think the original had 75 definitions, so it almost doubles the amount. But what they do is they take the digital versions and they put them in book form for the ones that have enough content to do that. That sounds like a waste of money, I'm sure, but you're going to be paying to use the online thesaurus anyway, so at least for the books, you only got to pay for them once, whereas if you use the ones on the site, you have to pay an annual fee to keep them, so it's up to you, do what you want. But that's one example that I might go through in the future. But anyway, you have options to really do well with your stories and your characters, so I would do the research, I would try them out and see what works for you, and then if you find a template you really like, put it in the comments below, and that should be fun. So anyway, that ends the series on yWriter versus Scrivener. I hope you got something out of it, and I look forward to seeing more of what you guys come up with. There's going to be one more part after this. I'm going to show you my chapter in action, the Pop Goes the Waterbed, the first scene. It won't be the whole chapter, it'll just be the opening sequence. As of this video, I've already written it, so I already know it's in it, so I can confirm it will happen, it's there, and I hope you'll enjoy it, but that's going to follow as sort of the appendix to this series. So I do hope you'll watch through that too. It'll show you how I actually craft a scene and how most writers craft a scene. And it'll give you some ideas on what we deal with and what we have to think about. And I'll be using yWriter 6 as that example for writing. I normally, just kind of give you a preview, I do normally use Microsoft Word when I type my chapters and my scenes, but for the sake of the video I wanted to practice on yWriter 6 just to kind of give you guys an idea what that's like. I have other stories that I've started straight in Scrivener, so everyone has their own system. You figure out what yours is, but you'll see in the next video how I actually put everything together, so just keep that in mind. Anyway, thanks for watching.